You endured everything, every manipulation, every lie, every time they made you feel guilty for reacting to their abuse. You were patient, understanding. You gave chances that no one else would have given. And the narcissist interpreted that as weakness. They believed your silence was submission, that your empathy was stupidity, that they could keep playing with you without consequences. Fatal mistake. Because when an empath finally gets tired, when that infinite patience reaches its limit, they become something the narcissist never saw coming. An unstoppable force that knows every one of their tricks and is no longer afraid to use them against them. Nikola Tesla understood this better than anyone. He didn't speak directly about narcissists and empaths, but he understood power. Real power. Not the kind that is displayed, but the kind that accumulates in silence. Tesla worked alone, ignored, underestimated by men like Edison who sought immediate glory. But Tesla didn't need validation. He needed results. And when he finally revealed what he had built in the shadows, he changed the world. That is the difference between noise and substance. The narcissist makes noise, the empath accumulates substance. And when that substance explodes, nothing remains of the narcissist except rubble. Let me ask you something. How many times were you told you were too sensitive? How many times were you made to believe that you were the problem for reacting to their cruelty? How many times did you swallow your pain because confronting them meant more gaslighting, more manipulation, more exhaustion? And meanwhile, they continued. They kept lying, kept using your kindness as a weapon against you, kept believing you would always be there to absorb their toxicity. But something changed, didn't it? Something inside you broke. And when an empath breaks, they don't collapse, they harden. Here is what the narcissist never understands. The empath is not weak. They are selective with their strength. For months, maybe years, they chose not to use their full power because they believed in redemption, in change, in the possibility that maybe, just maybe, the narcissist could see the damage they were causing. But that hope has an expiration date, and when it expires, the empath awakens to a brutal truth. They are not fighting someone with greater power. They are fighting someone who only knows how to pretend to have power. And pretending is not enough when you face someone who has finally decided to stop holding back. The narcissist operates on an illusion. They need you to believe in their superiority, in their control, in their distorted version of reality. But the empath has already seen behind the mask. They know every insecurity, every fear, every lie the narcissist tells themselves to sleep at night. And that information, stored for so long out of compassion, becomes lethal ammunition when compassion runs out. Because the empath doesn't just know where it hurts. They know exactly how to make it hurt without raising their voice. Tesla spoke of energy, of how nothing is lost, only transformed. The empath absorbed all that toxicity, all that abuse, and instead of letting it destroy them, they transformed it. They turned it into clarity, into strategy, into an understanding of the narcissist so deep that they can now predict every move before it happens. The narcissist thinks they're playing chess, but the empath has already played the entire match in their mind and knows how it ends. Checkmate in 5 moves. And the narcissist doesn't even see the first strike coming. But here is the part that truly terrifies the narcissist. The tired empath does not seek loud revenge. They don't scream. They don't make scenes. They don't need to publicly expose every lie. That would be too obvious, too emotional, too much like what the narcissist expects. No. The tired empath simply disappears. And that disappearance, that silent withdrawal, is more devastating than any confrontation. Because the narcissist needs your energy. They need your reaction. They need to know they still affect you. And when you give them nothing, when you become a void where there was once a constant supply of emotional fuel, the narcissist begins to crumble. Think about this. What happens when a parasite loses its host? It dies. The narcissist is an emotional parasite. They feed on your empathy, your patience, your need to believe people can change. But when you cut off that supply, when you leave without explanations, without closure, without giving them one more chance to manipulate you, you leave them in the void, and the void consumes them. Because without someone to control, without someone to blame, without someone to absorb their toxicity, they have to face themselves. And that is something the narcissist cannot endure. Tesla worked with alternating current, with flows of energy that could be transmitted without being lost. The empath works the same way. For a long time, they transmitted positive energy toward the narcissist, hoping something would change. But the energy ran out, and now that same capacity to transmit is used for something different. It is used to cut connections, to redirect energy inward, to build a life where the narcissist has no access, no voice, no power. And that rebuilding, this total focus on one's own well-being, is the most powerful revenge. Because it's not about destroying the narcissist, it's about making them irrelevant. But the tired empath doesn't just disappear, they also learn. They learn to recognize the signs from day one. They learn that empathy does not mean being an emotional punching bag. They learn that they can care for others without sacrificing themselves completely. And that education, purchased with pain, makes them immune to future narcissists. Because now they know that love doesn't hurt, that genuine connection doesn't require constant justification, that healthy people don't need to destroy others to feel good about themselves. And with that knowledge, the empath builds walls, not walls of fear, but walls of discernment. And the narcissist will never be able to climb them. Here is what truly scares the narcissist. The tired empath speaks. Not hysterically, not from uncontrolled emotion. They speak calmly, with facts, with a clarity that disarms. When someone asks why the relationship ended, the empath no longer protects the narcissist's image. They no longer say, "It just didn't work out," or "We both made mistakes." Now they tell the truth, without embellishment, without drama, just an objective description of what happened. And that truth, spoken with the credibility of someone who was always trustworthy, destroys the narcissist's reputation faster than any emotional outburst. The narcissist depends on controlling the narrative. They need everyone to see them as the victim, the misunderstood one, the one who tried, but the other was too difficult. But when the empath breaks their silence, when they stop protecting the narcissist's false image, the narrative collapses. Because everyone who knows the empath knows they are not a liar, not dramatic, not prone to exaggeration. So when they speak, people listen. And suddenly, the narcissist is exposed, not out of revenge, but out of simple honesty. And there is no defense against the truth when it comes from someone who never lied. Tesla faced constant attempts to discredit him. Others stole his ideas, distorted his work, tried to make him seem insane. But time vindicated him. Because the truth doesn't need to shout, it just needs to persist. The tired empath understands this. They don't need to convince anyone immediately. They know that over time, The narcissist's patterns will reveal themselves to others. They know they weren't the first and won't be the last to suffer that abuse. And they know that every person who escapes and speaks adds another piece to the puzzle that eventually reveals who the narcissist really is. But here is the most dangerous technique the tired empath masters: the mirror. Throughout the relationship, the empath absorbed, listened, understood, adapted, and in that process, they learned exactly how the narcissist's mind works. They learned what triggers them, what scares them, what makes them feel small. And while a healthy empath would never use that information, the tired empath is no longer so considerate. They won't attack. That would be lowering themselves. But they will reflect. They will show the narcissist exactly what they are, without filters, without protection, without the kindness that always softened the truth. And that reflection, that confrontation with their own emptiness, is unbearable for the narcissist. Imagine this. The narcissist tries to come back, sends messages, makes promises, swears they've changed. It's the classic pattern. But this time, the empath doesn't respond with hope or anger. They respond with indifference. And indifference is the narcissist's kryptonite, because it can't be manipulated. It can't be turned into guilt. It can't be used as proof that the empath is bad. It is simply the total absence of interest. And that absence tells the narcissist something they never wanted to accept. They no longer matter. Their opinion doesn't matter. Their promises don't matter. Their existence doesn't matter to the empath. And that irrelevance destroys them more than any insult ever could. Tesla lived in his own mind, creating without the need for external validation. The tired empath learns to do the same. They create a life where the narcissist has no place, neither in their present nor in their thoughts. They no longer wonder what the narcissist is doing, whether they're okay, whether they think about them. Those questions which once consumed hours of their day disappear, and in their place are projects, goals, genuine relationships with people who don't drain, but nourish. The empath becomes their own source of energy, and that self-sufficiency is something the narcissist will never understand. But let me tell you something you may not want to hear. The tired empath also has to face their own shadow. They have to accept that they allowed the abuse, that they ignored red flags, that they sacrificed their well-being believing they could save someone who didn't want to be saved. And that confrontation with their own responsibility is painful. But it is necessary, because without it, the empath will repeat the pattern. They will attract another narcissist, and they will believe again that this time will be different. The power of the tired empath is not only in seeing the narcissist clearly, it is in seeing themselves with the same brutal honesty. And here is the part that changes everything. When the empath takes responsibility for their own choices without blaming or victimizing themselves, they become truly free. They no longer need the narcissist to admit the damage. They no longer wait for apologies that will never come. They no longer seek external validation that the abuse was real. They know what they lived. They know their worth. And they know they will never again allow someone to treat them that way. That inner certainty is unbreakable, and it is what makes the tired empath more dangerous than any narcissist, because the narcissist operates from fear disguised as ego. The tired empath operates from peace earned through pain. Tesla died alone and poor, but he changed the world. His inventions power entire cities. The tired empath may not change the world, but they change their own. And in doing so, they become an example for other empaths who are still trapped. They show that yes, it is possible to leave, that yes, there is life after the narcissist, that pain is not permanent, but lessons are. And every empath who awakens is one less person the narcissist can exploit. It is a chain that breaks, and with every break, the narcissist's power diminishes. So what makes the tired empath so dangerous? It's not revenge, it's not hatred, it's not even exposure. It is informed indifference. It is strategic withdrawal. It is the conscious decision to never again give the narcissist what they need to survive: attention. And that decision, maintained with unshakable firmness, is more devastating than any confrontation. Because the narcissist can fight anger, can manipulate sadness, can distort confusion. But they can do nothing against someone who simply stopped caring. Look, the narcissist underestimated you. They saw your kindness and thought it was naivete. They saw your patience and confused it with a lack of options. They saw your love and thought it was dependence. But all that time, while they were playing shallow games, you were learning. You were observing. You were building a complete map of their psychology. And now that that map is complete, now that you understand exactly who they are and how they operate, you have something they will never have: real knowledge. Not illusions of grandeur, real knowledge. And knowledge in the hands of someone who has finally decided to use it is absolute power. Tesla understood that true power was not in being recognized, but in being effective. The tired empath adopts that philosophy. They don't need the narcissist to suffer publicly. They don't need everyone to know what happened. They don't need social revenge. They only need effectiveness, cutting the narcissist completely out of their life and ensuring they never again have access. And that effectiveness, executed with surgical precision, is more terrifying to the narcissist than any frontal attack, because it means they lost, completely, irreversibly, and worst of all for them, they lost to someone they underestimated. The tired empath no longer plays by the narcissist's rules. They don't enter circular arguments. They don't defend themselves against false accusations. They don't try to prove their point. They simply leave. And every attempt by the narcissist to re-engage is met with silence. That silence is not passive. It is the most active response possible. It is the clear declaration that the game is over. And when the game ends and the narcissist is left alone on the board, they are finally forced to face what they always avoided: themselves. And that confrontation, forced by the empath's absence, is the narcissist's true hell. So here is the final truth. The narcissist never imagined the empath could get tired. They believed empathy was infinite, that forgiveness was automatic, that patience had no limit. But they were wrong. And now they pay the price for that mistake. Because the tired empath does not go back, does not give second chances, does not fall into the same traps. They learned the most expensive lesson of their life, that self-love is worth more than any relationship. And with that lesson tattooed on their soul, they become unreachable. Not out of resentment, but out of wisdom. And that wisdom, earned in the hell of narcissistic abuse, makes them invincible. Because they already survived the worst. And what doesn't kill you, if you process it correctly, makes you unstoppable. If you made it to the end, comment, "I made it," and I will personally reply to you. And if this content resonated with you, subscribe to be part of the community and give it a like if you enjoyed it.